Hello. What we're going to be doing today is going over orthographic views. What views essentially are the six very different sides of any given object, being its front, its back, its left, its right, and then the top and bottom. All right. What our job is getting these 3D views and turning them into 2D flat patterns so that we can dimension off of and give other people information so that they can go and create these objects. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start by looking at this object. And as you can see here, I have the L looking part of this object hatched. That hatch is going to be the main part or the main face of the view because it has the most information. All right. So once again, you always want to go for the main view being the view that has the most information to give. So I'm going to redraw this L shape on the side to create my first projection. So I'm going to start by doing the L, my line command, and I'm going to go up my 3. I'm going to go across to the right, my 1. I'm going to come down. All right, so my overall vertical distance is 3. What would this inside line be here? What would this inside line here be? Well, because this here is a thickness of 1, we're going to assume that this thickness all the way through is going to be a thickness of 1. So 3 minus 1 is 2. So I'm going to come down 2. I'm going to do the 4 minus 1, which would be 3. I'm going to go down 1 and then over 3. Sorry, over 4 to close off my object. All right. So once we have this, we can use this as our main basis to project our other views. All right. In this case, I'm going to project all 6 views just so that we can see what each one would look like in any given time. All right. Now, some general rules that we have when it comes to spacing of different views. Typically, you want your view to be 1 inch away from each part. All right. In this case, I'm not going to be dimensioning this object, so I will just offset my 1 inch to to a side, and that will be the start of my next object. So now what I'm going to do is do what will be considered the right view. All right, looking at this object from the right side. So if I draw a leader, that would essentially be looking at it from this direction. Do a leader from this direction. All right, so you can see here I have my little arrow pointing at this direction, and this direction would look like what would I see from here? All right, so let me go ahead and do a hatch, change my color just so we can get some differences in here. So what would I see from this view? I would see this piece and this piece. All right, so what I need to do is draw that. So I want to offset my distance of 1 just so I can have a starting place, and that already gives me my decent starting spot. So from here I need to go and draw the rest of my part with this line that I've given as a starting point. All right, now the good thing about orthographic views is they project, once you have one face, they project onto the other face very easily. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this first face, this L, as our main face, and we're gonna project off of it. All right. So what I did is I switched my layer to centerline layer, and from here I am going to project lines over. So I know this is the top of my part, so I'm gonna project it over. I'm going to do the same thing for my bottom. I'm gonna project these lines over. That way I have where my top is, or where my bottom is, and where my top is. All right, so this line should theoretically go all the way up. This is how I know this line would line up. All right, now the thickness of this object would be this distance right here, which would be my 3. So what I can do is I can offset this line 3. I know that these cyan center lines represent my top and my bottom, so I can just trace it out to make the top portion and the bottom portion. And I'll make those into object layers. And I need to represent this opening here, or this transition between this face and this face. So to do that, I must draw a line or a projection coming off right there, and then trim the excess. All right, if I were to delete these 2 cyan lines, now I have the projection of my right view on drawn on the screen. All right, so now that we have these 2 views, next thing I want to do is do my top view. My top view, let me do another hatch, switch the color. My top view, looking at it from the top, obviously, you would see this face and this face. That's a little bit hard to see. Let me change that color to a red. Now let's switch it to yellow. Alright, that way we can get some good differences in the colors. So this yellow face represents my top, these yellow hatched faces. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start off by offsetting my distance, once again being 1, and it has to be directly above my front view. The thing to know about projections is they have to line up. The top has to be above the front, the right has to be to the right of the front, the left to the left of the front, the bottom under the front. So they have to line up. They have to line up with each other in a way to where, if this was a piece of paper that was laid out as a flat pattern, like you used to do in elementary or in grade school, you would have a bunch of lines that you would fold on. Essentially what would be happening is, if you were to fold this paper, it would fold onto each other and create this box, or create this L-shaped in 3D. All right, so that's the general explanation of what we're trying to do here. So once I have this starting place, I can project my lines again. So I'm going to project up. This should be the stopping points. Project up. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to project this line over to here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to where these 2 lines meet, and I'm going to draw a line at a 45 degree. All right, because my objects are equally spaced at 1 inch apart, or 1 unit apart, using a 45 degree will allow me to project faces or lines from this face onto the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this line here, project up. Let's go to intersection. Alright, being a little bit of a pain, so we'll just go above it, come here, above it, and trim these points off. where those lines meet the 45 degree, I project across. And this here, this box that we've created, is going to be my overall size of my face. So I can come back, I can trim these off, trim that off, trim that, trim here, and it creates my box. Alright, that would be the easiest way to do this. Then you just turn all these lines to the correct layer. Once I have that, I can come back and project this face up, trim off any excess, and now I have my top view. I can come back and delete these construction lines, and now I have my front, right, and top view. Alright, if I were to keep going, I could do my left view, my bottom view, and my back view. Essentially, because of how simple this shape is, the back view, or the left view would be an exact mirror of this one. So I'm going to offset my 1, offset my thickness of 3, connect my lines, connect my lines. Now, one thing that's important, along this face, we cannot see this opening on this side. So because of that, when I come to project this line over and trim out the extra, this line will not be solid. It should be hidden. Why? Because when we're looking at it from this side, we do not see this face, therefore it's hidden from view. Alright? We come now and do the bottom. So I'm going to offset my distance of 1, offset my distance of 3, and same thing here. If I'm looking at this from the bottom, I do not see this opening. So this line that needs to be shown would be represented as hidden. I'm just going to match properties so that we know something's here in this area. We know there's another line or another surface there. We just don't know what. We don't know on which side the opening's on. So we'd have to go look at this other view to see what's going on there. Alright, and then I would project the back onto any side. Alright, the back doesn't really matter which side you project it on, just make sure when you do project it, you project it correctly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to offset it this way, off of my right. I'm going to do another offset of 4. Connect my lines here. Alright, I'm going to offset my 1 and my 1. And then look at it like that. So these are my 6 sides of my surface. Once again, if you cannot see any features from any given face, that feature would have to be hidden. Alright, now for your assignments, you're not going to have to draw all 6 views. You only have to draw 3, and it's going to be whichever 3 give the most information. So in this case, these 3 views here give the most information because everything is visible. This view does not give that much information, nor does this one, because they have hidden features, so we can't tell what's going on. Alright, and this view is just as good as the back view, is just as good as the front view, except in this case, why would we do the back and make things more difficult when we can just do it from the front? Alright, so what you would be turning in would be something like this. Alright.